Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 2:01. And I need adoption of the agenda, please. Oh, never mind then. Oh, yeah, I see it. Proposed. Okay, proposed hearing. So, is it Julie that's gonna? Okay.
Madam President, members of the board, colleagues. Today we're going to be talking about the 22-23 proposed budget. First thing I want to do is cover a few statutory budget requirements and deadlines. We are required to approve a proposed budget no later than July 5th. Between July 5th and 15th, we have to publish a notice of public hearing. We have to have that at least 10 days prior to our adoption. By July 15th, we do have to do our budget adoption and submit the proposal to ADE. Then on October 15th, we'll do our annual financial report for the prior year. And December 15th, we do have to do any budget revisions that are outlined by ADE. This is optional if we don't have any ADE requirements. Then by May 15th, we have to do the final budget revision. The reason I point those deadlines out is because can you hear me now? There we go. The reason I point out those deadlines is because the state budget has not been approved. The Auditor General was required to publish the 23 budget forms by June 3rd, so we are once again in a preliminary status. The preliminary forms did not account for any routine annual changes, which would normally take into account our inflation and any weighted average changes that they would propose. As of Friday, the state budget remained unchanged. As of today, it remains unchanged. What this requires is anytime we use preliminary forms, we have to do a budget revision no later than September 15th. So although it's not in statute, know that these forms will be coming back to you for consideration. We took limited budget assumptions when preparing the FY23 budget. We did a base level amount increase of 2%. We changed the base level from $4,390.65 to $4,478.46. We did not change ADM, any weighted averages or indexes, or any transportation factors. The other change that we did do is we took in the classroom site fund utilizing the FY23 rate, which has been confirmed at $708. The proposal shows that we're going to be spending over $20 million on regular education, which is almost 69% of our budget. Special education will receive almost $7 million. Transportation, just over $2 million. And our K-3 reading program and dropout prevention will receive just under $200,000. If we look at it another way, our salaries and benefits are going to be almost $24 million. That's 80% of our budget. That's right in line with what it should be. Purchase services are just over $4 million, supplies just under $2 million, and other expenses such as fees, things of that nature, are going to run us about $83,000. That is the proposed budget for the FY23. Again, as the state budget is finalized, we will bring revised numbers. But are there any questions in regards to the information presented? Thank you.
So we don't have any, that was just information. Yep. Perfect. So why do I need to call it to order? We're already in. All right. So I'm going to call this meeting to order at 2:06. So I need an adoption of the agenda. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Any public comments? No. No, we don't, do we? No. Okay. Jeez. All right. So we have so our consent agenda. Is there any questions on this consent agenda? No? No? It's just personnel. Do you have any questions on that? All right, so all in favor? Aye. Motion carries 3-0. So now we have 7.1, discussion consideration of proposed budget. Is that what we just went over? Okay. Did you have any questions? Do you have any questions on that you want to? If no questions, then we can just take a motion. All in favor? All right, motion carries 3-0. Okay, approve purchase of science adoption textbook materials.
That's me.
Look at you. I'm going to turn this off.
Madam President, members of the governing board, distinguished colleagues. Can we go ahead and put that PowerPoint up? There you go. I would like to bring to you a recommendation regarding our science adoption for 2022 moving forward. I'd like to start by thanking the superintendent and our director of business services for giving me money to do this. Yeah, thank you. Because without that, this couldn't have happened. So, first of all, we started this process way back in August. We got dragged down a little bit by some unforeseen circumstances. But when we did start back, we did create what we called the steering committee. That included myself, Marcus Berkshire, Dorsey Middow, Christine Murphy, and Karen Finn. And what we did as a group was we worked through the RFP that we were going to put out on the street. And we went through all of the materials that were there. We looked at what other districts had done, and we created this steering committee that was going to drive what happened with our process. The goal, obviously, our standards have changed, and quite candidly, Madam President, members of the board, I couldn't tell you the last time the district adopted science curriculum. Maybe Santa could, but she's got this perplexed look like, don't ask me. So, boss kids, yeah. So, as you can see, it's been a long time since there were any resources that were purchased. Hey, it's my last time up here. I have to pick at her. Since that time, we have new Arizona state standards that were developed and adopted in 2018. In addition to that, as you know, as part of our hashtag forward, we've really been working on changing our teaching approach to not only science, but to all of our core curricular areas as well as our electives. We wanted to align our materials because there is a lot of being used out there by a lot of different people. And so we thought it was really important that we bring that in. This also gave us an opportunity to involve our staff. And you'll see as I go through this that we did include a large portion of our staff. And then it also gave us an opportunity to get feedback, not only from our teachers and from our staff, but from the community, although that was really limited, unfortunately. You can see our timeline. In January, we finalized our timeline. On February the 9th, we notified the vendors of the RFP. On the 22nd through the 25th, the steering committee, those 5 folks I mentioned, we went through what was submitted. There were 9 proposals that were submitted. Only 8 of them met the criteria of the RFP. And so we moved those 8 forward. On March the 30th, we invited a group of educators in to evaluate the materials that we'd been given. There were a total of, I believe, 10 or 12 folks that sat through that. We went through all of the materials that were presented, all 8 vendors. They were scored. Those scores were totaled. And from there, we moved toward our final 3 that we then invited to come back to be part of that. You can see on the 8th, the steering committee finalized all that work, going through, asking any follow-up questions, all of those things. And then on the 19th, the 20th, and the 21st, those vendors were invited back. Those vendors were HMH, McGraw-Hill, and Savas. They came and presented, and at that point, we had a representative from every grade level, K through 8. Unfortunately, at the high school, as you guys probably remember, we had, I believe, 6 of the science department who either retired, resigned, or moved on to other places. So that was a little bit more of a challenge. But Mr. Hill from the high school served as an administrator, and he's taught ag. And then Mr. Daoub, who's the new department chair, came in and sat through those presentations. So we had the vendors present their resources. We were able to ask questions. We have several folks in this room that were part of that. It was a very, very informative and give and take process. There were lots of really good questions that came up from our teacher group. And from there, instead of choosing one finalist to move forward, we went forward with all 3. And as you can see in the back, we started our 60-day process of displaying our materials so that folks could look. One of the things that Christine and Dorsey worked on was a QR code so that folks didn't have to sit here and look at them. They could scan those, they could go online, and they could look at the materials from home, and they could scan through all of that. All of the vendors were very helpful in doing that. On June 20th, that's today, we're bringing forward to you a recommendation for a science purchase. I want to tell you that there are 3 statutes that we follow. ARS 15721 and 722 talks about how books and materials are to be selected and the board's involvement and the community's involvement in that. And then ASR 15213 is the actual process of purchasing those books and what has to happen. And I'm proud to say in my 40 years of education, I have never gotten in trouble for either one of those, and we're not going to start today. But just be aware that we followed all of those very closely. I did want to share with you that our criteria for what we used was we looked at the curriculum they presented, what were the programs. That was going to be 60% of our evaluative tool. The other 40% would be cost. We had a budget of $650,000, and I'm going to tell you that we came in under that, significantly came in under that. These are the folks that were on the Educator Evaluation Committee that looked at all 8. You can see the different folks that were there. Angie was the elementary rep for the administrators, Carl for the secondary, Alex Fantasco, I didn't say that right. She was our elementary teacher. Jamie Calhoun was at the middle school, and then Brent Stonecipher for the high school. And then for the large group, you can see, I'm not going to go through all of those, but you'll see that there is a grade level attached to a name. So everybody was represented, including our SPED folks, as well as we go on, Connie from technology. We had 2 coaches that were part of that, and then our district office folks, which included Christine as the content science folks. Brenda Haro was another one of our, as an ELA or an EL, she was working on that side, and then Karen Finn is our buyer. So, any questions on the process? Thank you. Thank you. I anticipated that, Shelley. That's the reason I did it. So with that said, if we can go back to the RFP, we're going to recommend to the governing board, we would like to pursue McGraw-Hill with a total cost of $440,908.44. So our committee was able to come almost $155,000 in under budget, which will be good because math is next online, and I'm not sure what that's going to look like. I will tell you the biggest reason for the savings is that everything that we're purchasing, with the exception of some readers for the younger grade levels, is going to be digital. And it's a 6-year contract that we're looking at. So there's my presentation. Not bad for my last one ever, right?
Right, I think that the fact that it's digital, I don't prefer digital, but I have to say that since Sarah went into college, that is all they have. So they're gonna have to get used to it.
And we had some conversation. I will tell you, some of the teachers group really wanted some resources,
copy.
but it becomes it really jumps the price of those resources up. And this way you can work to renew the contract when it comes back up, or you can look else if it's satisfied.
It was just a hard transition for her, so I think that that's a good transition for them.
Yeah, most districts now are looking at digital. You know, I was a middle school principal, and I remember the kids, the 70-pound kid with the 60-pound backpack, because they had all the textbooks in their back,
gosh.
and I was sure they were all going to have scoliosis before they got out of ninth grade. But we've really moved away from that, and I will tell you, the three presentations, in particular, McGraw-Hill's, Angie, you were there, Dorsey, Marcus, their resource is very easy to use, and the teachers were very impressed. Even our new high school principal, our science teacher who's coming in, was very impressed with the materials for the high school. So we're recommending a K-12 adoption in McGraw-Hill.
Questions for him? Woo, sorry. Woo. Okay. Do you want to just come sit by me, Bob? Yes? Or do you want me to? Why don't I just come sit by you? I'll just come sit. We can look up the same computer.
I move to approve the McGraw-Hill as a selected vendor for the new district K through 12 science curriculum for the cost of $440,908.44 as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. You're welcome. Thank you. A lot of work. Way to go out with a bang. Okay, so then we have 7.3, discussion and consideration of approval of the changes in the 22-23 calendar.
We're just looking at a very minor modification to the calendar based on the start of preschool. There's no reason for us to delay the start of preschool the extra week. There's a couple errors on this particular calendar, so the only thing I would say is you want to have the start date as August 28th for preschool, and the end date, if you'll scroll just a little bit higher, nope, the other way, the other direction, on the 16th, Tuesday, the 16th of May. So I would recommend that it's just approval of those two changes and those two changes only, and then everything else will reflect what you approved previously.
Is it August or July?
Sorry, July 28th, month off, July 28th and May 16th.
Any questions? All right. I'd like to move to approve the recommended change to the 2022-2023 annual calendar for preschool.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. So next is discussion and consideration selection of the board member in Combs Education Foundation. Oh, we need a board member.
Yeah, so annually, one of the board members is on the Combs Education Foundation. It's Mrs. Hargis right now. And so we just need to know who will be the individual on that for this current year. Now, there is at least one individual not here, so no, I'm just kidding.
I would, so we can come back here again. Is there any way we can co-chair it? Like we could do, there could be two of us?
Yeah, you can
And
do
then-
whatever you can do
And then
whatever
that way
you
that,
want.
like, we for sure.
Yeah,
at least one of us go?
it's an ex officio position
Wanna do
there, so
that?
it's a non-voting ex
Okay.
officio.
All right, we're willing to do it together.
So we do need a motion and approval of that.
So I move that the governing board approve the selection of Shelley Hargis and Bob Delina as members for the Combs Education Foundation.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0.
Wait, who seconded that one?
Okay. 8.1, discussion and consideration of approval of changes of policy A, district mission and belief statement.
Just based on the discussion we had with the organizational development plan, what's in the current policy reflects fairly old information. I don't think it's ever been updated. So this is just a first read, but all it does is reflect the new vision, the new mission, the new vision, the new mission, and the core values. And so there's no action or anything. It's just a
Okay.
matter of a first read, and then the second read would be at the July board meeting
Okay.
for approval.
All right. All right. We don't have any questions on that, right? I mean, we just spent like an hour and a half on it, right? Okay. So 9.1, consideration for future agenda items. Do you have any burning questions that need to be answered? What would you like?
Are you sure?
Okay. And you said there's a possibility that we could be having another board meeting next week? Right, so if there is a possible board meeting next Wednesday, everybody available? Okay, at least you'll have a quorum. Okay. All right, so I'm going to make a motion to adjourn at 2:23.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion